What is going on today, guys, and welcome to MudRunner Mobile. Now, in this video, I'm going to be sharing with you guys my initial gameplay and my first impressions. I'm going to be sharing the tutorial and a little bit of the first mission. I'm going to be going over some of the aspects of the game, and I'm going to also be giving you guys sort of my general consensus on how I feel about where they're going with this mobile direction for the series. So, without any further ado, let's go ahead and jump right into the gameplay. Now, this is the screen you will see when you load up MudRunner Mobile for the very first time. Now, as you can see, missions and free game are inaccessible from the get-go, but that's because you have to go into the tutorial first. Now, here's a quick overview of the settings: brightness, camera sensitivity, contrast, steering sensitivity, all that stuff. Now, steering sensitivity is actually going to be a bit of a topic of discussion in this video because it is, at least the way I played it, was with the tap steering, and tap steering is a little bit interesting because the steering return speed is different for every vehicle. So that kind of adds a little bit of an odd dynamic where if you've never driven a vehicle before, like any of these certain vehicles before, you're not going to know how slowly or how fast the steering is going to return to center, which is a little bit strange to get used to. But as you can see, you can recover to the garage like right from the get-go. That's literally the first thing they have you do, is recover to the garage. And you'll probably be recovering to the garage fairly often in this game because that's just kind of, you know, a dynamic that this game has, you know, pretty much made as its core. But you have your tap steering on the left, and basically the longer you hold it, the farther the steering will go. Pretty simple. Now, you also have your throttle on the right, and you also have your brake/reverse right next to it. Now, you also have a gearbox selector button, which we'll get a little bit more in depth on how that works a little bit later on in the video. Now, the thing you have to be careful about is, as you can see right there, I wasn't quite used to the steering yet, and I drove like right into an embankment, like literally right from the get-go. So you really have to get used to how the steering responds before you really start driving a lot. Now, you also have the diff lock and the all-wheel drive buttons on the left right there, and I gotta say, they really did a good job of simplifying the UI for a mobile experience, and I really like how they did it. I think that they did a really good job of it. And I also have to say that the visuals look pretty dang good for a mobile, like basically a mobile port of this game. And I'm playing it on a iPhone 11 Pro with all of the settings on default, basically. I haven't changed anything. Like, this is exactly how the settings were when I loaded up the game. And really, it looks like the PC version on, you know, low to mid settings, which I'm genuinely impressed by. I thought it wasn't going to look that good. It's weird because I think over time I've sort of trained myself to not have the best expectations out of like mobile games, but this actually looks, feels, and plays very nicely in my opinion. And I think, you know, I think a lot of people were very weird about the concept of MudRunner moving to mobile, but hey, at the end of the day, it really did its job, I think, and it really showed that this franchise can be ported to mobile successfully. And I think, again, I think that it can be at home here. I think this is going to be a great game for, like, if you're, I don't know, like, you know, sitting at a train station waiting for a train, or like, you know, sitting in the airport waiting for your flight or something like that. Or if you're like, I don't know, if you're like the passenger in a car on a long road trip and you're bored, maybe fire up MudRunner Mobile, deliver some lumber. You know, I mean, that's literally how it would work. And I think they did a really good job of making it accessible enough for that, because I think one of the biggest issues with MudRunner and SnowRunner when they first came to like PCs and consoles was they didn't really explain much of what was going on. They just kind of like threw you in and were like, have at it, bud. Figure it out, you'll be good. And this mobile port actually does a better job, in my opinion, of explaining how everything works. And they really do a good job of walking you through everything in the tutorial. They really are like, this does this, this does this, this does this, and this does this. And this is when you're going to do that, and this is when you're going to do that, and this is when you're going to do that. And everything has a dedicated spot, a dedicated purpose, and a dedicated reason for being there. Now, driving this truck, I was kind of curious to see how it was going to work with a truck that did not have diff lock or all-wheel drive, but even with, even without having diff lock or all-wheel drive, it's actually pretty good. I mean, it's still usable. It's not like it's unusable and you're going to get stuck on every single obstacle. And setting off from the log station, you actually do feel the weight being applied to the truck. You feel like there is an actual load in the truck, and that is something that you can't really, like, you can't put a price on how good that is, because the reason why that's a really good thing is because I feel like very few mobile games actually do a good job of describing and conveying the feeling of having a vehicle that has weight in the back, because they either make it seem way overblown or they make it seem like it's not there. This does a really good job of finding that balance in the middle and being like, yeah, your truck's a little bit heavier now and it's going to sink into the ground a little bit more, but it's still usable. Like, you can still drive it around and you're not, like, you're not going to be in a pinch because you're solely, putting weight in the back of your truck. Like, you're not going to be in a pinch because, like, oh no, my truck weighs 10 million tons now. Now, granted, if it weighed 10 million tons, it'd probably fall through the actual floor of the game, but, no big deal there. Now, my first experience of hooking up to a trailer was actually pretty straightforward. So, all you have to do is you have to back up to it, and then you basically go into advanced mode, and you just click the attach to trailer button, and then when you back up into the spot that it wants you to be in, it just auto attaches. So there's no technical trailer attach button. It's more like you click the button and that puts it into a trailer detection mode, and then once it detects that you are close enough to actually hook up to it, you hook up to it automatically, and then boom, you're done. Now, this is where we started to get into a little bit of the gear selection gameplay, and that was something I was a little bit concerned about, but it does play fairly smooth, and I think they set it up as best they could, again, considering that you're on a touch-based mobile device. So once we got up to this sort of semi-muddy washout, you actually will click on the gear selector, and it will show you a bunch of different gear positions that all coincide to different speeds. And again, it's basically a different version of what you have in the PC and console games. I mean, you have first gear, 1, and then, like, 1 and 2. You have basically 3 different individual ranges of that particular gear, and then you have 1+, which is high. And so they really, again, do a good job of conveying that experience that you're used to on the console game and PC games over to the mobile in a different UI. And also, as you see on the throttle button, you have that little green light right there. That means you're in cruise control. So all you have to do that is actually double tap the throttle, and boom, you're in cruise control. And if you're driving over a long distance, it really does help because you don't have to hold it down the whole time, and you can focus on other things like gear selection and steering and stuff like that. And, pay attention to where your truck is. And I believe that you can use cruise control in almost any gear that you want, which that's a big deal too, because, if you throw it in, like, low range, let's say low range cruise control, you could just focus on the steering and focus on looking around your rig as it slowly crawls through the environment. So that's a big one. That's a really, really cool addition, and just a really, really cool aspect of the game that I think I wasn't expecting, but I'm really glad is here. Now, the rig is basically, if you remember the challenges, it was basically like a series of challenges from MudRunner. The rig was one of the very first ones. It may have actually been the first one that you did. It was either the first one or the second one. Either way, there are a lot of challenges that have made their way over from the console and PC versions of MudRunner over to this mobile version. And you'll see right here what can happen when you're not used to the steering sensitivity in a new vehicle. Because I jumped into this thing, made a left, and yeet, smashed into the center guardrail and stalled out the engine. And I was like, okay, yeah, be a lot more gentle with the steering and restart the mission and try again. And you're going to be doing that to some degree. Then again, I don't know, you might be a absolutely perfect professional at MudRunner Mobile from the second you fire it up, and that's also possible. But either way, you will probably have to get used to the sensitivity, for some reason I can't say that word today, the sensitivity of the steering from the get-go. You'll have to get used to how the different trucks react, because again, this one has a pretty slow steering return speed. It's not the slowest out there, but it's definitely not, you know, the fastest in the world either. Now, up here, I definitely managed to find myself demonstrating how easy it is to get stuck. And, you know, this truck doesn't have all-wheel drive or diff lock, so I'm not surprised. But we got a little bit stuck, and then we were able to actually reverse back and then go forward, and then reverse back and go forward, and eventually work our way out. But I think it actually shows a good amount of the physics here and how similar they are to the PC version and the console versions of the game, like the main versions of the game. Because that's another thing that I was a little bit concerned about, is that the physics would not be quite on par with where they are in the main version of the game, but they're actually really freaking good. I mean, as far as being able to sink into the mud, being able to, you know, to spin, and being able to dig, you know, at different rates, it really does feel very realistic. I mean, you really feel like you are playing MudRunner on your phone, and I was concerned that it was going to feel like I was playing MudRunner-ish, or like MudRunner the spin-off, but it actually does feel like MudRunner. I mean, the graphics definitely, again, feel toned down, but it does feel like the same game, and it definitely feels like it came from the same family. So I think if you're looking for a MudRunner style experience on your phone, I think this is absolutely the place to get it. Now, in terms of performance, again, I recorded this gameplay on an iPhone 11 Pro, so I'm not sure how it is going to play on your device, but that's just going to have to be a experiment of trial and error within the community, because we really don't know how it's going to play on everybody's individual device until they try it on their own individual device. So I would love to know your thoughts and opinions on MudRunner Mobile in the comments down below. Will you be playing it? Will you not be playing it? Do you like it? Do you not like it? Is it something that you find yourself spending some of your free time playing around with? Let me know in those comments down below. And if you enjoyed this video and you would like to stay up to date with everything MudRunner Mobile, SnowRunner, Off-Road Outlaws, and more, make sure to subscribe. Click that notification bell, and I will see you guys in the next one. Talk to y'all later.